Imagine this. You've just launched your startup. You've poured your heart, your money, and your sleepless nights into it. But then boom, the market crashes. Your biggest client backs out. Investors start ghosting you. Chaos takes over. Now at this point, you have two choices. You either break under pressure or you become something extraordinary. And that's where Antifragile, a concept developed by the brilliant Nassim Taleb, comes into play. It's not just about surviving chaos, it's about thriving in it. Today, we're diving deep into how you can turn uncertainty and setbacks into the biggest opportunities of your life. Just like Amazon did, just like Tesla did, just like some of the greatest companies ever built. If you're an entrepreneur, a dreamer, or someone who refuses to settle, keep watching. Who is Nassim Taleb and what is antifragility? Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about the mind behind this revolutionary idea. Nassim Taleb isn't your typical academic. He's a former Wall Street trader, a statistician, and a risk analyst who doesn't just theorize. He's lived through financial crashes, market chaos, and economic meltdowns. His book, Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder, flips conventional wisdom on its head. Taleb argues that most people in businesses think the key to success is resilience, meaning the ability to withstand shocks. But resilience is not enough. If you're merely resisting change, you're still vulnerable. What you really need is to be anti-fragile. You need to benefit from shocks, unpredictability, and volatility. The difference between fragile, resilient, and anti-fragile. Let's break it down. A fragile business collapses under stress. Think of Blockbuster. It couldn't handle the shift to digital and crumbled. A resilient business survives shocks but stays the same. Think of traditional banks. They withstand crises but don't really improve. An anti-fragile business, however, grows stronger from adversity. Think about Amazon during the 2008 financial crisis. It adapted, acquired companies, and came out even stronger. So the real question is, how do you make your startup anti-fragile? Lesson 1. Embrace small failures to avoid big ones. Most people fear failure, but Taleb argues that small failures are actually your greatest advantage. Look at Elon Musk. Before Tesla became the giant it is today, it almost went bankrupt. Instead of playing it safe, Musk took risks, learned from failures, and iterated rapidly. Each failure acted like a vaccine. It strengthened Tesla, making it more immune to collapse. Takeaway? Don't avoid small failures. Use them as stepping stones to massive success. Lesson 2. Build options, not predictions. Startups fail because they rely too much on predictions. They create a business model assuming the world will remain stable. But guess what? The world is anything but predictable. Taleb suggests that instead of making one big bet, you should create multiple options. Look at Google. It doesn't just rely on search engines. It has AI, cloud computing, self-driving cars, and even experimental projects like Google Glass, which failed, but they moved on. Takeaway: diversify, experiment. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Lesson 3. Remove the downside, expose yourself to the upside. Taleb introduces the concept of the barbell strategy, where you minimize your downside risk while maximizing your upside potential. For example, let's say you're starting a business but don't want to go all in and risk everything. Instead of quitting your job and investing all your savings, you could work on your startup as a side hustle while keeping a stable income. This way, you have limited downside but unlimited upside if your business takes off. Takeaway: play it smart. Don't go all in unless your downside is controlled. Lesson 4. Skin in the game, bet on yourself. One of Taleb's biggest lessons is skin in the game. This means you shouldn't take advice from people who have nothing to lose. Think about all the so-called business gurus who sell courses but have never built a company themselves. Instead of listening to armchair experts, look at founders who actually took risks. People like Steve Jobs, who bet his entire career on Apple. Takeaway: only trust advice from those who've actually been in the trenches. Real-world example. Airbnb, an anti-fragile business. Want a real-world example of anti-fragility? Look at Airbnb. When COVID-19 hit, the entire travel industry collapsed. Airlines, hotels, and tour companies suffered devastating losses. But Airbnb, they adapted. Instead of relying only on traditional bookings, they pivoted, encouraging long-term stays, rural escapes, and work-from-home getaways. They turned a crisis into an opportunity and emerged stronger than ever. That's anti-fragility in action. Are you ready to become anti-fragile? The truth is, the world will never be predictable. Recessions will happen, markets will crash, disruptions will come out of nowhere. But if you embrace anti-fragile thinking, you won't just survive these shocks, you'll thrive because of them. So, if you're a startup founder or someone dreaming of building something great, ask yourself this: are you setting yourself up to break, to survive, or to grow stronger from every setback? If you want more groundbreaking insights like these, make sure to subscribe. And if you're ready to make your business anti-fragile, drop a comment below on what your next big move is. Because in a world of chaos, the smartest entrepreneurs don't fear uncertainty. They